Welcome back to the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Petty School Reading Program. In this lesson, we'll continue our study of language and reading in the classical tradition. Let's go ahead and get started. By this point in Petty School, you have studied all of the Latin letters and their sounds. You should be able to name any letter on this chart and give its sound. If you can't do that, you should stop here and review your old lessons before moving on. In this lesson, we're going to begin reading Latin words. Let's begin this lesson by reviewing some of the first ideas we learned in the first lessons of Petty School reading. We learned that of all the creatures in the world, we are the only ones who use language. We learned that we use language to share ideas. And we asked the question, what is an idea? We learned that an idea is an image in our mind of anything we have seen, smelled, tasted, touched, or heard. We can also have ideas of what we have thought about. These are ideas. We all need to share our ideas with others, and to do this we use symbols called words. Words are symbols of ideas. There are two different kinds of words, and these give us two different ways to share our ideas. We can share our ideas with spoken words. In the picture, Alypius is sharing his idea of love to Augustine with the word love. That word, when heard by St. Augustine, brings to mind the idea of love. St. Alypius' spoken words. We can also share our ideas with written words. In the picture, St. Augustine is not listening to Alypius. He's reading the written words in the book. The man who wrote the book shares his ideas with written words. When St. Augustine reads the written words, the ideas of the author of the book come to his mind. The author has shared his ideas with written words. We also learned that words are made of syllables. And we learned that syllables are made of letters. We've been studying letters and their sounds. We've also been reading and spelling syllables made up of those letters. In this lesson, we're going to put syllables together and read words. On your screen, you see a Latin word. The word is made up of syllables, and the syllables are made up of letters. To read this word, we first need to divide it into syllables. On the next screen, we're going to do that. You can see that on this screen we have divided this Latin word into two syllables. In between the two syllables, we've put a light brown dot. That dot separates the two syllables in this word. To read this word, we're simply going to read the first syllable and then read the second syllable. That's all you have to do to read. Point to the green dot under the consonant R, and we'll read this Latin word. ROMA. 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 When we put those two syllables together, we have the word Roma. Roma. Now that you know how to read this word, go ahead and start at the beginning and read the entire word. Roma. This is the Latin word for the city Rome. Here's another Latin word, and to read it, we're going to do the same thing. First, we're going to separate it into syllables. Then, we're going to read each syllable clearly. And in the end, put all the syllables together and read the word. On the next screen, you'll see where we've divided the syllables. Find the light brown dot on this screen. That will show you where we divide the syllables in this word. You can see that just like Roma, this word has two syllables. To read this word, we're simply going to read each syllable. Point to the green dot under the consonant D, and we'll read this word together. Domus. Domus. If we put those syllables together, we read the word domus. Domus. And now, putting all the syllables back together, you can read this Latin word. Domus. Domus is the Latin word for house. Let's go ahead and take a look at another Latin word. Look at this word on your screen, see if you can read it, and try to break it up into syllables. In the next screen, we'll see where those syllables are and how it should be read. Here you can see how this word is divided into two syllables. Find the light brown dot on your screen to see where the two syllables divide. To read this word, we simply read the first syllable and then the second syllable. Let's go ahead and do that. Point to the green dot under the consonant P, and we'll begin. Pater. Pater. Put those syllables together and we have the Latin word pater. Pater. Now you can put the syllables back together and read this Latin word. Pater. Pater is the Latin word for father. Pater. And in the Lord's Prayer, we pray Pater Noster, which means our Father. Pater. Our next word looks very much like the Latin word pater. Go ahead and try to divide it into syllables and read it. On the next screen, we'll see how you did. Here you can see how we separate this word into two syllables. Find the light brown dot on your screen so you can see where the two syllables come apart. Now to read this word, we simply read the first syllable and then the second syllable. Let's go ahead and do that. Point to the green dot under the consonant M, and we'll read this word together. Ma ter. Ma ter. We put those syllables together to form the word mater. Mater. Now when we put the syllables back together, we see this word, and we read it mater. Mater is the Latin word for mother. So we saw that pater was the Latin word for father, and mater is the Latin word for mother. Pater and mater. Now let's try a Latin word that's a little more difficult. Go ahead and see if you can find how many syllables there are in this word. In the next screen, we'll see how many there are and where they're divided. You can see here that this word divides into 3 syllables. You can see that there are 2 light brown dots that separate the syllables. Let's go ahead and read this word together, one syllable at a time. Point to the green dot under the consonant M, and we'll begin. Ma, ri, a. Let's try it again. Ma, ri, a. Now, if we put the 3 syllables together, we have the Latin word Maria. Maria. And so here we see our Latin word with all of the syllables brought back together. Maria. Maria. This is the Latin name for Mary. Maria. Here's another Latin word for us to read together. Go ahead and see if you can divide this word into syllables and count how many syllables there are. In the next screen, we'll see if you're right, and we'll read this word together. If you count the syllables, you'll see that there are 3 syllables in this word. You can also find the 2 light brown dots that separate the syllables. Let's go ahead and read this word, one syllable at a time. Point to the green dot under the consonant F, and we'll begin. FILIUS. FILIUS. If we put those syllables back together, we read FILIUS. FILIUS. And here you can see our word put back together, and we read it as filius. Filius. This is the Latin word for son, like the son of the Father. Filius. Our next Latin word is even longer. Go ahead and see if you can divide this word into its syllables. In the next screen, we'll see if you're right. You can see that there are 3 syllables in this word. Find the 2 light brown dots where the syllables are divided. Now that we've found the syllables, let's go ahead and read this word. Point to the green dot under the consonant S at the beginning of the word, and we'll begin. Spiritus. Spiritus. If we put those syllables together, we read Spiritus. Spiritus. Now, looking at this word as we would normally see it in writing, we can read it easily. Spiritus. Spiritus. This is the Latin word for spirit. And now we've learned pater, father, filius, son, and spiritus, spirit, the 3 persons of the Trinity, pater, filius, and spiritus. Let's take a look at another Latin word. See if you can divide this word into its syllables. And in the next screen, we'll see if you're right, and we'll read it together. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables in this word. And you can see the 3 light brown dots that separate the syllables. Let's go ahead and read this Latin word together. Point to the green dot under the consonant F, and we'll begin. Fa, mi, li, a. Fa, mi, li, a. If we put those syllables back together, we read the word familia. Familia. And now, looking at our Latin word with all of the syllables brought back together, we can read familia. Familia. This is the Latin word for family. Familia. By this time, you should be able to read almost any Latin word if you break it into syllables and read each syllable one at a time. In our next lesson, we'll practice with some more difficult words. Let's read these words together for some more practice. Let's start at the top in the red row. The first word is read Anna. Anna. You can see there are 2 syllables, an and na. We put them together to form Anna. The second word is ave. Ave. It also has 2 syllables, a and ve. The third word is bonus. Bonus. Bonus also has 2 syllables, bo and nous. Anna is the Latin name for Anne. Ave is the Latin word for hail or hello. And bonus is the Latin word for good. In the green row, the first word is read kaput. Kaput. That's the Latin word for head. The second word in the green row is dona. Dona. It has 2 syllables. The word dona means gifts. The last word in the green row is felix. Felix. Felix means happy. In the blue row, the first word is herba. Herba. 2 syllables. Herba means plant or grass. The next word in the blue row is liber. Liber. The word liber means book. The last word in the blue row is manus. Manus. That's the Latin word for hand. In the orange row, the first word is ora. Ora. It has 2 syllables, and this word means pray. Ora et labora. Pray and work. The second word in the orange row is penna. Penna. That's the Latin word for pen, like a pen you write with. And the last word in the orange row is sedes. Sedes. That means a seat or chair. Practice these words and see if you can read them perfectly by dividing them into syllables and reading each syllable one at a time. Here are some more words for you to practice with in Latin. Some of them are pretty difficult. Let's read them together. The first word in the red row is soror. Soror. That's the Latin word for sister. The second word in the red row is space. Even though it has 4 letters, it's only 1 syllable. Space. Space means hope. The last word in the red row is fides. Fides. The Latin word fides means faith. In the green row, the first word is a pretty long one, but we'll just read it 1 syllable at a time. Caritas. 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 That's the Latin word for love or charity. The next word in the green row is tempus. Tempus. Tempus has 2 syllables, and it's the Latin word for time. Tempus. The next word in the green row is unus. Unus. Unus means 1 in Latin. In the blue row, we find the word verbum. Verbum. That's the Latin word for word. The second word in the blue row is VESPER. Vesper. That means evening, when the sun goes down. You may have noticed that I read those words with the sound v. V. The Latin letter U can be read as U or as ve. The Church reads it as ve. The Romans would have read those words as verbum, verbum, and vesper, vesper. You can choose which one you like better. The last word in the blue row is QUINQUE. QUINQUE. Remember we said that the letters Q and U are always found together. The word is read QUINQUE. Even though there are 7 letters in that word, it's only 2 syllables. The word QUINQUE means 5 in Latin. In the orange row, we find the word frater. Frater. It's 2 syllables. Frater means brother. The second word in the orange row is infans. Infans. That's the Latin word for infant or baby. And lastly, the longest word is ecclesia. 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 That's the Latin word for church. Even though it's a very long word, if we read it 1 syllable at a time, it's no more difficult than any other word. Remember, 1 syllable at a time. We're going to stop there for this lesson. In this lesson, we have practiced reading simple Latin words. We've learned to read any Latin word, we simply divide it into syllables and read 1 syllable at a time. In the next lesson, we will learn some more difficult words. So practice with the words in this lesson and practice reading in any books you have. If you have a Latin Bible or a Latin prayer book, you can go ahead and start practicing reading Latin words. We hope you've enjoyed this lesson in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy's Petty School reading program. We'll continue our study of language and reading in our next lesson. God bless.